Hi, welcome to this presentation hosted by the National Foreign Language Center. I'm going to turn off my camera in just a few moments so that we have a smooth presentation, but I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Catherine Ousselin. Let's get started. We're going to be looking at social media today, and that's a big topic with our students: safety, organization, why. We're going to be looking at it from the purpose of I can integrate social media communicative tasks for all three modes. Again, my name is Catherine Ousselin, and I'm representing PNCFL. That's the Pacific Northwest Council for Languages. I'm a world language curriculum design and technology integration coach. If you go to my website, catherine-ousselin.com, you'll find hundreds of tools for your classes for all three modes, and of course, lots of curriculum design ideas with that. I'm on Twitter. If you're following, great. If you're not, let's get together. Also, I'm on email, so if you need to ask a question after this presentation, I will try to reply within 48 hours. The Wakelet collection for this presentation, so when you get this link for the video, hopefully you'll get the presentation as well. If not, send me an email. You'll have the Wakelet collection that I prepared that I would show you how I use this with my students. And let's find out what else we do. So I teach French 2 through AP at Mount Vernon High School in Washington State. I work extensively with the AETF for many different reasons. I love volunteering for ACTFL, and I'm also the current WAFL president here in Washington State. So how can we use social media in world language classes? This is a big iCan statement. I've got two of them for you. So I can search for, evaluate, and organize authentic social media posts for the use in the design of engaging interpretive, presentational, and interpersonal activities for a variety of proficiency levels. This means you're novice all the way to your advanced, all the way to your superior. Well, I'm not going to show you the superior today, but up to the advanced, that will work. The other thing I can do, I can plan the implementation and assessment of purposeful communicative activities utilizing authentic social media posts within thematic units, meaning that we don't want to just throw these things out to our students in the morning, in the afternoon. Here's, just look at this and do something with it. It needs to be thoughtfully inserted, integrated with what we're doing so it connects our learning and our growth in interculturality. So why would we consider integrating social media into our curricular resources? It can be scary, and that's absolutely true, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But if we're looking at the interculturality and the cultures framework, we've got our products, our practices, and our perspectives. And luckily, social media is a living document that constantly is updated every day with humanity's existence. And that's usually in the products and practices when we see social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat a bit as well. What we're hoping to do is take that hook that gets the kids so attached to that, right? In the products and practices, they love watching the videos and the simple pictures. But as the educators, we're going to draw them in and look more for the perspectives, for the meanings and the attitudes and the values and the ideas. And that's not something that can easily be done just on the fly. So when you're practicing these types of integration, you can start with the products and practices, but you're going to have to get used to how to explain the perspectives. Another great thing about social media is that if you as the teacher have never been to a certain culture or country, social media can help develop your own personal interculturality awareness and help you understand people from different places and different cultures. So let's see what else we can do with this, because what types of social media accounts could we use in the world language classes? You don't want to just throw your students out into the Twitter area and say, go find something to follow. There might be issues with that. Also, if you're a French teacher, when you get this presentation, click here because you will see the 250 different Francophone accounts we suggest you can follow to get more information. However, since we're talking to more than French teachers, let's look at those subject areas. If you look on top, it says governmental, and underneath it's cities and regions, political leaders and candidates. So these are giving you suggestions on here's the big topic, and then these are the things you could look for. NGOs, so powerful because they are the humanitarian backbone of the world. Look at this. UNESCO and women's rights, children's rights, the UN. Please look those up. Clothing and fashion, tourism and travel, of course, that's one of our big ones. Food, which is probably the most important things to students some days. Schools and education, so many teachers blog, so many teachers tweet from other countries. Let's connect our students, let's connect ourselves to those accounts. There's also media, science and technology, sports and activities, history, artists, musicians, writers. There's also the fun culture. But with that in the pop culture, you want to make sure that you check those feeds for a month. Make sure that they're treating their humans right, their animals right, and that they're being appropriate. Now, you do need to talk to your students once in a while that there might be something that is inappropriate. How do we deal with that? That's depending on your district. I don't let my students usually just go out into free Twitter land. I organize things for them, and I'll show you that here in a few moments. Health and beauty, leaders and role models, which has been an exceptionally good experience for my students. Businesses, heritage, and of course, popular culture icons. But again, you want to make sure that if you're following a reality TV or a contest or a game show, those types of things is that you definitely check. Look through the feed. If there's nothing too scandalous, you can consider using it. We can look at some other tips for searching for authentic resources and accounts. So if you find a really good blue checkmark type of person, look at the following list that they have. Who are they following? Most of the time, you're going to find other quality accounts from that. If you want to check and make sure they also have a blue check, that's up to you. You can look at that account's feed and make sure that it's what you want to use. But please, typically avoid following the average person accounts. You're not sure, you're not guaranteed that they'll be appropriate or helpful for your purposes. That's for the students to do on their own time. I say if you want to follow them, please just take care and be responsible. When you are searching, you want to use the target language. If you're inside Twitter and you want to find soccer teams, you're going to use equipo de fútbol or équipe de fútbol. You want to use the language so that you find the more authentic resources. Same thing with hashtags. You can find hashtags in every language, and it's just depending on what you want. If it's political or if it's cultural, if it's a music festival. I use sometimes boulangerie for bakeries, so I can find all the good bakeries that my students want to learn, but I can put that boulangerie Dakar. So find me bakeries that are in Dakar. Then I get into more products and perspectives. Okay. Ask your students and colleagues for ideas. They've been out there on the web too. I've understood that they've got the app. And then share what you find with others, because people send me ideas all the time and I add them to our list for the ATF, and that way we have 250 good accounts to follow. So let's talk about that, because saving, organizing, and sharing posts becomes an issue. You can have the most beautiful Pinterest boards, but unless you're getting that out to your students, it's not helping you or them. So first one I'm going to explain is Twitter. I've been on Twitter since 2009. I love it because it's a good professional connection place for me. I follow teachers, world language teachers, and a lot of scientists because I'm a geek. But the neat thing that you can do on Twitter is create lists, and lists are groups of accounts that are important to you. So if we look back at this list, okay, we've got these types. And what if we had a list that were all the governmental type accounts? Okay, you can build those in Twitter, and you can name them, and they can be organized, and other people can follow them. You can also save tweets to your bookmarks, but those are only visible to you, and they can't be organized. However, you can retweet tweets, as we say, or you can create wakelet collections, and I'll show you about that just in a moment. Let's go to the ATF's Twitter, and if you go onto that, you can follow them that way, or just go directly to their page. Okay, so here's the ATF Twitter, and if I click on this, now I'm following them, of course, because that's what I do. You can go to View Lists. These are the lists that I have created for the ATF. You can see I've got them from all over the world, a lot of francophone, to make sure that we're inclusive from all different perspectives. Okay, And if you look, there's that government one that I have mentioned earlier. So in this government list, I have 29 accounts from the Francophone world that people can look at, or I can send out tweets, or I can find resources from. So if I want to look at, Swiss, there might be some good pictures or infographics or something that I want. A couple things that you can do. You can like it, of course. Well, that doesn't do very much. But you can also go over to this arrow. Now, again, if you're on your app, it'll be just a little bit smaller. But you can add this tweet to your bookmarks, or you can copy the link. If you do that, you'll be able to integrate that into different places. Okay, up on this little corner here, it's nothing good. I mean, if you want to get rid of them, you want to block them, etc., that's up there. But most of the time when you're trying to collect resources for your students, okay, so you found something good. This one is about female researchers. I want to use that for my students. Okay, so I'm going to click on it and save it to my bookmarks and then copy the link. Okay, so that's when you have Twitter options. I love it. The next one is, of course, Instagram, and that's more popular with our students in that Instagram can kind of seem, I don't know, just like messaging, but Instagram is for showing off. And inside Instagram, you can create collections. You can save certain Instagram posts to a collection, and I name mine. And that way I can have just food and one for school and one for businesses around town. So if you're studying places in town, that's a great one to go to. The thing is that they're not visible to others. Okay, so that's not helpful. Whereas Twitter, people can see what you're collecting. You can repost, and if you know how to repost, you're an Instagrammer. You should always ask for permission for that, and it's not as effective for collecting resources for your students. So the workaround is that you can create a Wakelet, and then you take all those Instagram posts that are gorgeous and you can add them to a Wakelet. So let's take a look at that. Let's say I find a beautiful picture. Okay, I'm on Instagram. If you go up to the three dots here, and it's the same thing on the app, you can copy the link, and if you know how to embed, that's great. You can share in different ways, like by email. I'm going to copy that link, and in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to use Wakelet, but it's kind of like a bookmark organizer, a bit like Pinterest. So if you click on that, edit collection, you can take any, I put them in order. I put them in different places so that they're organized, but you click on a green plus, and you paste that Instagram link that you copied in, and there it is, ready for your students to look at. Wonderful. This is helpful because if you don't want your students to go on Instagram, or if they're too young, or if they don't all have devices, and you want them all to see this, you can copy that link and put it inside Wakelet, and now you have a list of all the resources you want them to see. Great way to do this, and that's how you kind of build your own interactive workbook or experience. It's like building a website with your students with all of this. There's other ways to do this, but I'm showing Wakelet just to start with, okay? Let's talk about Snapchat. I am not a big user of it except for the filters right now. And that's because for me, snaps disappear. I can't really curate things if they disappear on me. I can't send them out to my students and say, oh, look at this snap because it's gone. But I have offered for you a beginner's video. It's from 2020, so it's very recent. And I'll give you all sorts of ways how to use Snapchat if that's something you want to add into your life. You can save snaps in other ways. You can do it via memories, or you can take screenshots. Okay, but those stay on your camera and in your app. They're not visible to others. You can look at the trending stories or the snap map, and I'm going to show you that. That's web-based, or the hour stories. And supposedly these are approved by Snapchat for appropriate, but I'm still not sure how to use this yet. There's a couple of people I need to talk to. But if you go to the snap map, it's really hard to say, you can focus in on a certain area, and you can click on that and see what is popular right now. Okay, so there's a snap that's being shown, and that'll be around for a while, but I can't save that in any way. I can't I can't save it so I can share it with my students. So Snapchat can be very good if you are having the students create with it. So if they're making snaps and they put stickers on it and they put text and they send it to you, that's great, but it's not something that you can curate and harvest for your students. So one that you can do that on is TikTok. TikTok took a while in Mount Vernon. The kids were very didn't really think that was appropriate. They thought that was a baby kid thing. But now it is so popular, everybody loves it. Why do I love it as a teacher, as a curator? Is because it has versatile sharing options. So you can download the TikTok to your device. You can share it via Google Drive. You can upload it to YouTube or other social media. You can push it out via Messenger, or you can share a link via email. All these ways to get it out to your students. So if you look on the app, there's a little arrow right here. And when you click on that arrow, you can copy the link, you can email it, message it, Snapchat it. There's more if you keep looking. You can also save it to your favorites, to your bookmarks, but those can't be organized and other people can't see them. So the best way to share is if you're going to put, if you're going to just use one of these other sharing options. So let's look at TikTok, because honestly, it does a very good job. It's better than Snapchat. Let's look at this one. It has boulangerie. Remember that means bakery in France. And we've got this little video here that someone made, and I love it because it's subtitled. First of all, we've got that, and then we can look around and we could stop it and we say, what type of food do you see here? Is it sweet? Is it savory? What's her uniform like? What is she wearing? Why is her head covered? Maybe it's because she doesn't want her hair to get in the way. Maybe it's religious purposes. She's cutting it in half. You could be doing a movie talk with this, and this is authentic because this is an experience that happens, and it's kind of a joke too. So it's fun to look at. I love TikTok. You can make these collections happen for your classroom, and look at all the different ways that you can share that. Okay. Plus, you can have your students comment on them if you want to get into the interpersonal writing. Okay. So TikTok is a big favorite of mine right now. I would suggest that you kind of look around and ask your students what they like, and then challenge them to go find TikToks in other languages. Which brings us back to Facebook. Facebook is mostly for teachers, and I find a lot of great authentic resources on there. You can create thematic bookmarks and you can put them into categories, but you need to have an account to see Facebook. So it's not something that you can send your students easily unless it's a public post. You can get the timestamp link address if you know how to do that. Awesome. If not, please contact me. So there's also the idea that all of those videos that are posted on YouTube, they're usually, that are posted on Facebook are usually on YouTube or some other video platform, or you can screencastify them or Zoom them so that you have your own copy, because most of us don't want to be opening up Facebook. So you can organize them for yourself, and then you can get them out to your students. You can screenshot them if it's just a picture. You can get links. There are ways to incorporate Facebook. Next, most people don't think of YouTube as a social media platform, but it technically is. It's a way to share videos, and you can embed them, and you can send links, you can write comments on them. It's one of the best things that ever came out of the early 2000s. You can create playlists for themes and topics for your students. And those playlists can even be organized into sections, and I'll show you what that looks like. But the playlists can be collaborative with students or colleagues. Let's take a look at the ATF. This is our YouTube channel. These are the playlists that we've created. We have something like 85 or 90 of them, about 4,000 videos. And I put them into now, these are sections. Okay, so those are global challenges. This is contemporary life. This is, I have several for contemporary life because that's a big thing. But if you go in to a playlist, okay, these are all the videos that I put into a playlist, and I can share this with my students, of course, but I can also invite them or my colleagues to collaborate on this. If I click on that and I turn on the collaborate button, I'm going to get a link. I would send that to my students, and then from there on, either they or my colleagues could add videos to this playlist, which is great because you're asking the students to be interpretive listeners of the language and to choose appropriate videos. And we've done this several times when we were having like Mani Musical, which is like the Final Four type of video contest with all the different music. The kids contributed all the songs and then we put them together. Playlists are a great way to just, if you want to add some supplemental material for your students, create that. I've done this for many different units and say, here are 20 extra videos you can go watch if you need some more experience with the language, more exposure. Okay, so definitely use YouTube as much as you can to get your students involved in the search or the exposure, the connection to YouTube beyond the silly little videos that they're watching every night. Okay, wonderful choice. So that brings us to the Wakelet, and I kind of previewed Wakelet earlier. Wakelet is a bookmarking website like Pinterest. Pinterest, okay, you have these boards and they're not in order. You really can't do much with them, and it's all about being very pretty. Okay, so you can grab stuff from Pinterest. Absolutely, you can download it. You can send it out to your students. There's lots of things you can do, but I like my things organized in one straight file. And what I've done is this is a unit I'm designing for my students about talking about their childhood toys and the gendering of toys. Okay, so it's about clothing, toys, and household chores. So in this, I found a whole bunch of resources for my students, and these are articles and websites. So this is the interpretive section. And usually I would tell my students go pick out 2 things and discuss them with a partner. Then they have the videos and just audio. Okay, so there's tons of this. YouTube, there's Twitter, all sorts of things for the students to interact with. Okay, I could put some Instagram in there as well. And then I do have some resources in other languages because I wanted my students to be able to talk about this with more confidence. When you give your students the chance to be contributors, they find a resource and they click and they will paste and they hit done. They're going to copy a link, and that's great for them. One thing I thought about doing with that is when we find a resource, we can start a conversation thread. And that way I can post one media bit and then the students are going to look at it. So this one right here, this infographic, is about video game consoles. And then the students can also, instead of adding a resource, they can add text. So if they wanted to add their name and a comment, you tell them, I want you to go and find, a lot of people do this on Padlet. They'll have their students comment on this so they can add their name and write their write-up based on this resource. Or I could say, use this resource and go find others. Okay, so that we build this collaborative experience. You can put TikToks on there and the kids can comment on TikToks. It's a lot of good fun. Okay, so that's one way to organize your media, your social media posts that you want to share with your students. I've got several more. You could use Padlet. Padlet's great. It's not free for teachers. You get 3 free, but after that you have to pay. You can add the same type of media to a Padlet, just like a Wakelet. The students don't need accounts on either of them. That's nice. If you want to go even lower tech, you could do Google Docs. Just create a hyperlink document with the links, and the students don't need an account. If you're using Microsoft Teams, the same thing happens. So if you've got an LMS, Google Classroom, or Schoology, you can create topics, not assignments, and then you can add links to these resources. So if you find a tweet, you're going to copy that link and then put it into the Google Classroom under a topic. And then the students would just click on that. It would take them directly to that tweet. You could do Pinterest. I've seen a lot of students and teachers use Pinterest together. I'm not a big fan of it, but if that works for you and your students enjoy that, your students do need an account. Now, if these aren't great ideas that you can use, you can go where it says more curating and sharing options. Click on this website. This is my website with different ideas for that. So there's the Wakelet, WebJet, Symbaloo, that's an oldie but goodie, Pearl Tree. Okay, there's tons of ways for you to connect with your students and share these posts that you like that are going to be great for them. So you can be using infographics, videos, pictures, links to articles. There are so many different resources online. You're going to find too many. I won't read every single slide to you because that's why you're watching this presentation on your own, but I wanted to share with you are the different types of activities that we can create for social media posts. And I'm giving you in-class ideas as well as hybrid and distance learning. I'm going to say that these are novice, intermediate, high, advanced, low. It says advanced, intermediate, low, but it can be adapted for anyone. But when you're in class and you can actually see your students and talk to them, there's so many different ways. Just look at number one. It's just the idea of collecting all these food things from different places around the Francophone world. What is bread like? How do we eat sandwiches in different countries? Put on Twitter posts, Instagram, TikToks, put it all there. Have the students just look at it on the fly and discuss with some predetermined practice sentence chunks. The other thing you can do is have your students draw it or describe it. They can demonstrate their reading or listening comprehension if they want to show it in drawings or clip arts or just making a quick audio or video recording. I use a lot of IPA lights, so you can do that with listening and puzzle and Google Forms. You can do also for just paper, like take a piece of paper, look at this resource, identify the keywords, the audience, products, practices, main ideas, inferences. You don't have to make an entire IPA. You can kind of light it up. So there's Spotted. I've got a couple ideas about using Mentimeter and Poll Everywhere. If you put a resource up for your students like an infographic, you can have them identify the keywords, the main idea, answer basic yes/no questions. Okay, so that helps it if you're in class. There's a sample activity that I've given for novice and intermediate activities. I'll let you look those over. It's based on this infographic. I showed you that before. So the infographic is on a tweet, and it has also a link to an article. So the students would start with the infographic, go to the article, and then I have one more. It's the extension listening activity. I found 2 videos that they can watch. So now we've done interpretive reading and listening, and then the students would do some interpersonal talking about that, or they have the couple of activities that I listed here for you. Okay. This is some options that you can do for hybrid distance learning. And if you're using an LMS, Google Classroom, Wakelet, etc., here are some ideas. I'm going to let you read those over. And then when we get into the interpersonal, I've given you some ideas for the sentence starters and chunks that I use. I've given you 3 that help students discuss media. And you can click on that, open it up, and the conversation tools are in French, but it should be pretty basic to explain how those work. If you need some help, please let me know. I'll work on making those in English this summer. So there are lots of ways for the students to get together and talk about what they're seeing or hearing or interacting with. One thing I like that I learned from Greta Lundberg and Nicole Naditz was the reading salad. And if you click on that, it's a way for each student to contribute to the conversation so that nobody is like the quiet person in the group. Hopefully you'll find that that's a really good one right there. So then if you're going to do some more interpersonal activities, I suggest that you use the talk scores for evaluating and feedback. That's from Schrum and Gleason. And then there's a blog post about that by Lisa Shepard. And absolutely go visit the Star Talk website for more classroom activities. I can go on forever, but that website's one of your treasures. Okay. If you're going to be doing the interpersonal and writing in the hybrid, that is a challenge for most of us. So we'll look at some of these activities I've suggested, plus go look at the different agencies that offer students the chance to talk with scientists or people from around the world in governmental agencies. Okay. So you've got more ideas, I always say that, for hybrid and distance. Okay. And then we get into the last bit is the presentational speaking and writing. And I refer you back to Laura Terrell's presentation. I put a link there for it. Also, the idea of group rights and student rights. Pose a question, combine ideas, discuss and edit. And then my big thing that worked so well with me is that my students started a social justice campaign for inspiring all women to be able to go to school around the world. So they made the hashtag, they made the social media posters, and they got their message out using our school's Twitter account. Okay. There are some great tools for your students to be able to record themselves if you click on this link. So if you want them to be able to record their presentational writing or speaking, those are out there for you. And some sort of TikTok tutorials if you want to try that out. That's a fun way to get kids up and dancing and moving and thinking in French languages all around the world. Again, I want you just to take the time and hit pause and look at all of these suggestions. And 30 minutes, I can't do everything, but you can go beyond the modes. Sometimes it's just on the fly discussions with a picture and some questions for your students. Also get those students involved in the research, because I want you to ask them, what did you learn or discover? What are you curious about? How will I use this for future research or personal interest projects? We can involve our students and set them on the path for their next level in language learning. So I want to finish up with some resources, articles, and infographics. There are many things that I could cover, but I want you to go look at each of these, especially if you're a French teacher. Find out the 250 different Francophone accounts we're following. For Leslie Grand's blog, please, she is an amazing personality that shares so much on developing performance tasks with authentic resources. And then I put in several of the Edutopia, ISTE, and Global Educator articles on how they use or suggest that we use social media. And then a couple other digital citizenship resources so that you can help your students use this professionally or at least educationally wise for a good purpose to develop that interculturality. I would like to thank the National Foreign Language Center for giving me this platform to discuss with you our topic today. If you have any questions, please find me online. It's just type my name in, you'll find me. What a wonderful experience to be part of the virtual summit. I hope to see you in person in the future at a regional or national conference. Until then, be safe. Take care of yourself and your students. Let's be in contact. Et bon courage. Bye-bye.